For problem 4 from section 2-7 in the group work, we have a problem that we've actually solved before previously by doing some values like in a spreadsheet and things like that. So we're going to encounter this problem again and see if we can solve it in a different manner. So Jack and Diane are going to start saving for retirement. They have deposited $1,000 in an account to start out. Then they plan to deposit $50 each month. How long will it take until they've deposited $4,500? So again, even though this isn't a long word problem, it's very helpful to write out the information, key numbers, things like that, outside of the sentences that they actually appear. So let's go ahead and take all those numbers out of the actual sentences at this point. So it says they deposited the $1,000, and then they added $50 each month. And we want to know how long, so that means we want to know how much time it will take until they've deposited a total of $4,500. So this problem in particular, you could solve a variety of different ways. So one option is to kind of take off the different values and break it into the various pieces by just doing pure math. You could have also, kind of in the same idea of a spreadsheet, made yourself a table and said for the first month they have the original $1,000 plus 50, so that's $1,050. Then the second month would be another 50 more, right? So 1,100, and you can keep going until you reach the 4,500. Now that would be probably not a better method since it's going to take a while to reach that high of a number. You could have also maybe drawn a picture or gone through some sort of other process to find the answer there. So there's not really a best way, I would say, on this one. Just some methods might take a little bit more time to work through all the steps. So for me, when I first looked at this one, I just thought it would be simple enough for me to just subtract values out and do some math on it. So here we can start with the original amount, or pardon me, the final amount that they want, and we're actually working backwards to the original amount. So they want to know how long, that means how many months. And so I need to see it really how many months am I putting that $50 in over and over. So the extra 1,000 isn't a part of that. So what I did is I went ahead and subtracted the 1,000 off the bat. So I could see how much money they were accumulating just on monthly deposits. So taking off the 1,000, they must have earned $3,500 on monthly deposits alone to have reached that total of the $4,500. So then from there, I went ahead and kind of thought, well, how do I figure out how much time it takes? Well, I know they're putting in $50 each month. And so I'm taking my $3,500 and breaking it into equal $50 chunks. And anytime we're taking a total and breaking it into equal chunks, that's division. So our $3,500 divided by the $50 each month. And if we divide that, we actually get 70. Now here, I didn't put any units like a dimensional analysis sort of problem, and so it may be hard to realize what unit of time we actually find. Did I find months? Did I find years? What is this? So since it's $50 each month, this would actually be in months. And they didn't tell us how they wanted us to write our answer, so 70 months should be okay. If you wanted to convert that into years, you could. To 5 years and 10 months. That's one of the ways that we potentially could have done this one. Now again, we could have done some of these steps a little bit differently. We could have gone through a different process of figuring out if I'm adding more and more each month, what that would be, or maybe even figuring out what I make in deposits a year, right? And kind of narrowing it down to the fact that it ends up being between 5 and 6 years, and then figuring out how many extra months that would be. So there's many different ways to potentially do this one for sure. The one last step of our process, though, we pulled out all our information so we could understand it. We devised a plan of subtracting off the original deposit and dividing the remaining amount into the $50 deposit monthly chunks. And so we still have to check. That's the last step that a lot of people forget that's really important, is to check and make sure that this answer makes sense. Especially if I had written my answer in years, that would definitely throw things off. And even though all I did was accidentally write down the wrong unit. So we still need to do a check. And so one way I can check this is to really kind of go the opposite route of what I did when I solved it. If we go through the exact same process as we solved it originally, we're probably not going to get any different answers, and that's not going to help us. So really, we're kind of working backwards. So if I had 70 months of deposits, each time I'm depositing $50. So when you repeatedly add those $50, that's multiplication. So 70 times the 50 would give me that 3,500 value. Right, so that's how much I'm earning just depositing the $50 over and over again for 70 months. Now that doesn't match our original statement of needing the 4,500, and that's because we still have to add back the original deposit. So they earned 3,500 for monthly deposits, but they started off with an initial deposit of 1,000. So when I add that in, that's when I do reach the 4,500 value. So again, on this one, you may have gone a different route, and that's totally fine. If you still had found that 70 months value, or the equivalent, which is 5 years and 10 months, that would be fine. So kind of acknowledge that there's different routes to solve the problem, and we kind of have to find the way that makes the most sense to us, and the one that we can definitely remember how to use next time if we come across a similar problem.